We are interviewing charter and longtime members of Sun Lakes United Church of Christ, and this is one of the members that we wish to interview today. Can you tell us your name and where you're from?
I'm Jean Scheufler, and I'm married to Charles, and we both were farmers in Kansas.
Jean, were you and your husband born and raised in Kansas, and where did you live?
We were both born in Belpre, Kansas. He in Hopewell, which is real close. And then we moved to Colorado, and Daddy joined the civil service, so we moved all over the country. Came back from Chicago with 3 girls that I graduated with, and we went to Fort Hays, Kansas State College, and I went to the farm that we had there in Belpre with my grandparents and met Charles. And if we had known each other at that time, he would have thought I was a snot-nosed kid and I would never have married him. We would never have been associated because he's 6 years older. But we fell in love, and we're celebrating our 67th this year, so it's been wonderful.
How wonderful.
And we moved out here in 1961 to Chandler.
What led you to come to Chandler, to Arizona?
Because Charles was having such migraine headaches. In fact, I had to do the milking sometimes, and I can't milk. I can't squeeze those things, but I could do the manual, the artificial, where they pump them out of the machine. Because he would be in bed 3 days, just could not eat or anything. And the doctor told him he needed to go to a dry climate like Arizona. So that's why we're here. And he hasn't had a headache since.
So you are not really snowbirds. You came here and stayed at Sun Lakes
Yes,
right from the
I
beginning?
taught school, and he ran a filling station, and later went on to Spreckle Sugar Company, and I retired as a school teacher.
Okay. And were you a school teacher in Chandler?
Now, in Chandler, yeah, in Chandler I was. Taught in Chandler all those years.
What grade did you teach?
My primary grades.
Primary grades.
Kindergarten, first, second, and third.
Wonderful.
And music for
Wow.
2 years, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that leads me to wondering if you were a charter member of the Sun Lakes United Church of Christ, only I don't know what it was called then. Can you tell me some information about how you got together, or was that what it was
United Church
called?
of Christ. We moved here in Sun Lakes in 76.
In 76.
And
Okay.
I don't know when we joined the church, can't remember what year, but Bob and Beth Bender are our neighbors. You go out our back gate, across the street, in their driveway, and there they are. And they're the ones that got us to go. They were charter members before we were. We were in the 3rd group of pictures that they took, and they said this is the last group that we're taking as charter members. So we were the last group.
Okay. Okay. And about how many people were charter members of your group? Do you recall?
I imagine there were about 40.
Okay.
There's quite a number of us in church.
Who was your first pastor?
Johnson, I forget his name, first name, but his name was Johnson. He lived right behind us, and we were at their house.
What different congregations or different groups of people, maybe they weren't all United Church of Christ at that time, what different groups of people from different congregations were a part of your charter members?
I think we came from all parts of the United States and from all different kind of religions. Charles was at one time a Catholic. I was a Methodist when we were being raised. But he did not appreciate the Catholic Church. A very strict priest, didn't ever know the Bible. He reads the Bible now every morning, and you can't stop him. I need to go on. It's wonderful. We take turns. And I think these came from all different religions in all parts of the country.
Sure. As a charter member, were you on certain committees at that time?
I was usually associated with the fellowship.
Okay. And what did you do on that committee?
Oh, Well, help make the coffee and bring the cookies and the refreshments.
And you said that you taught music at one time in the elementary grades. Were you in the choir, or did you participate with the music groups
No,
at
I was
United
in the
Church of
bell
Christ?
choir. I was in orchestra and band when I was in college. Missed a lot of classes because we went to visit alumni groups, and I was either in a woodwind quintet or a stringed orchestra. So
Okay. And did you do that with Sun Lakes, with the church?
No, not with the chorus. I just did the bell choir.
Was the bell choir. So the bell choir has been around for a long period of time then?
Yes, quite a few years.
Quite a few years.
20, I would imagine around 20 years.
Can you tell us a little bit about the service? Was it early in the morning, late in the morning?
Late.
How long it lasted?
It was late in the morning at 11:30.
11:30.
And we, when my mother went to a nursing home, we left the church and went to the Methodist church because we reserved a dining room Sundays at 11 to 1 to be with Mother. And my children and grandchildren came, and our children, Charles and mine both, but we spent the time with Mother. Then when Mother passed away, we were back in the United Church of Christ and felt so good to be there. I love their philosophy and their policies.
That sounds good.
And beautiful, wonderful, friendly people.
It sounds like you've always had a lot of wonderful, friendly people. Were there other active organizations? Seems like I heard of Points of Light or something like that. Can you tell me about any of the other committees or
I wasn't in
organizations?
Points of Light, but we were leaders of karaoke groups that we had.
Oh,
And the karaoke groups would take turns. This was after, what's his name, that has the fellowship, he and his wife, Ed Schroeder. Ed Schroeder. And his wife Irene had the fellowship for years. They were wonderful people. And Irene had you sign up when you were going to bring refreshments. And she passed away, and then Ed gave it up, but he still made cakes for the church, and he still does sometimes for fellowship. But we had karaoke groups, and they had, which meant friendship groups, and it was just, they were assigned different groups to go to, and that they learned to associate and get acquainted, and it was wonderful. But they took your turn to serve that a month on fellowship, and that went on for several times. And the Points of Light were very beneficial too. They did the dinners in the fall and in the spring. And then they quit, and then we took that over. And then I was in the head of the social committee, and we took that over, so we were doing the fellowship and the dinners.
well, that sounds like you and Charles have been very active through the years, and I'm sure that everyone is grateful for all that you have done.
Oh yes,
to
and they
help
let
the
you know
church.
it too. They sure do.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. As a longtime charter member, I would like to know what your thoughts are about the future of Sun Lakes United Church of Christ. And maybe you could tell us some concerns that you have or some positives you had. What is a reason that we would want to continue to have our active, enjoyable United Church of Christ?
Oh, I think we need the United Church of Christ and its wonderful members. The trouble with our membership is we're all getting old. Charles is 93 now and having problems, but he still goes. But I think the late service is hurting us a lot. I wish we could be out by 12 anyway, because there's a lot of sports that start before men get home. And we did have two services, one at 8:15, I believe it was, and then the later church. And the early people that went to the early church joined the church because of that early service. Then they had the rest of the day to do what they pleased. And we had people that were their Cardinal fans. They'd wear their Cardinal shirts to church, and then they'd take off for the games. Well, we can't do that with this late service. You can't come to church and make your sporting events, and I think we miss quite a bit with men on that score at late service. But it's hard to do because we share the chapel. If we had our own place, we can name the place, but we don't. But I do think our friendliness and our fellowship is very important to the church and serving with the committees. And I do hope it does continue into the future.
I guess I wanted to know also another question. What about the mission work that the United Church of Christ does?
Oh, I'm proud of it. I think it's great that they do it. We haven't been involved in that because we haven't been on the mission committee, but I think it's wonderful of the people that do that, and I like the missions that we serve, and we always contribute to those.
Well, thank you very much for your information that you've given us today.